Hello, how's everybody doing? Len No here at HackRedCon. With me, I have Jordan. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Jordan Silva, based out of here in Louisville, work for a company called Mirazon. Happy to be at HackRedCon again.
Awesome. So you guys are an MSP, as you said. So what do you see as the current issues that are most affecting the managed service providers? Because I've seen a lot, and I know a lot of people in the industry, and we're seeing a lot of the AI takeover in that space. How do you see that affecting your role and the company?
I think it's just another thing we have to help businesses sort of figure out. Managed service providers are traditional IT companies usually, and as we sort of figure out, okay, what does that continue to look like? Things like security are always top of mind. AI is coming quickly, I think faster than any other trend we've seen. So being able to figure out how does this help us? How does it hurt us? I mean, obviously we're at a security conference, so all the AI is great for finding data really quickly, and that's cool if you're a good guy. It's terrifying when it's a bad guy doing it. So helping businesses get ready for that is a challenge for sure.
And as an MSP, you guys are essentially the funnel for security for your customers. So the ability and the need for you guys to stay really educated on what's coming up, in my opinion, you guys are actually the gatekeepers of the technology to the majority of the end users out there, not necessarily your company in general, but just MSPs as a whole.
For sure, and it's a challenge because, most organizations, if you're the IT person in your business, you get to get really intimate with your business. As a provider, our job is to get intimate with 100 businesses and figure out, what do each one of them need? They're not all the same, so everybody has different needs, and how do we adapt? We work with companies that are 10 people, 15 people, all the way up to, 10 or 1,500 people. So trying to figure out what solutions work at which level and which make sense and what are cost effective and how to balance that with, bad guys don't care. There's a bad guy out there that's right-sized for any business. So we have to figure out how to protect everybody and while keeping it, reasonable for them. Not all these businesses have a fat bankroll to sort of just purchase all the newest things from a security perspective. So helping them, figure out what's right, when it's right, what order to do stuff in even. Like they don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money on like the biggest, fanciest gadget when they're not doing the basics just yet. But helping educate and kind of move people along that journey and introduce things at the right time is always really important.
And you bring up a very, very valid point. When it comes to security, it's always been a matter of function over cost.
Yeah.
And as MSPs, I look at 2025 as a very influential time in cybersecurity. Sure. We've seen things, continuous threat modeling, automated pen testing companies, the ability for internal AIs and LLMs to try and do SIM log interpretation.
Sure.
How do you feel, or what would your advice be to some of the companies that are using MSPs and, in terms of should they be looking to adapt and integrate, and what do you see as more, I'll call it fluff?
Yeah, I think right now, AI, like I go to a lot of conferences and I think every provider out there, every product manufacturer out there has decided that they have to have AI to live in this market space right now. So most of them, it's on their marketing material, but realistically it doesn't do a whole lot. So it's always about just focusing on like, what are you trying to get out of this, right? Like start with like, what are you trying to achieve? Use a framework that we know about. I mean, lean back into the NIST CSFs, lean into the CIS 18 and say, okay, what are the objectives? What are the controls that we're really trying to put in place? And how does this help me get there? Now, AI for me, it's like gasoline, right? It's an accelerant. If the core of the tool is bad, AI is just going to make it worse. If it's a really good foundational tool that knows what it's doing and it's backed by an organization who's building and managing the tool properly, AI is going to make it better. It's going to speed it up. But you have to understand that the foundational things are still real. AI is going to make data more accessible. It's going to help you parse and manage that data probably. It's going to help you do some analysis and maybe some, just enrichment of that data. But it's not going to do that unless you have the foundational stuff there to begin with to work from. And that's really what you have to lean into and understand that it also doesn't replace training. We're in this place right now where people believe because if they type it into the computer and the computer comes back with an answer that it's real, and it's not, it's a machine guessing. And ultimately that guess can be wrong and it can just be made up entirely. So you still have to go out and train your staff to understand what is the data they're looking at. What is it trying to interpret and tell you? Where did that information come from? I mean, it's like a SIM, right? Like when we get an alarm, it's okay, what is the alarm trying to tell me is happening? Like, why does it think it sees this data? Okay, let's go look, and is that true or false? Like we've always been that way where it's the first step is true, false, positive. AI doesn't automatically do that. It still has to take a guess.
No, it's all hallucinations at this point.
Half the time, right? So,
I love how you brought up the idea that everybody thinks that they have to have AI in the space. And if you ask me, I think there's a very definitive difference between AI, ML, and LLMs.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it comes into the marketing, like you said. What does AI mean? Is it AI something that is actually taking the data and doing something with it, or is it more just a back-end tool for interpretation and reporting?
Exactly. And I think that's really important, in the security space, the machine learning stuff, the ML is, there's a lot of superpower there, and that's where we really need to lean heavily into.
Agreed.
The LLM side of things is, it's neat, it's fancy, it's cool. You can kind of go online and ask a question and have a conversation with a fake person.
Let me throw something at you and get your thoughts on this. I've been saying this for a while now. I don't know how long you've been in the industry. I've been doing this stuff for almost 30 years. Yeah. And as somebody that's been seeing the progression of the technology, I look at LLMs and I'm asking people in the industry what their thoughts are on this. I think LLMs are nothing more than the 21st century version of a database. And prompt engineers are a modern day version of an SQL administrator.
I think that's about right? It's LLMs are a tool that's going to predict what the best guess is at something. And learning to ask better questions has always been the best way to get good data. So yeah, we have prompt engineers, but as humans, we've always understood that also, right? Like whether it was learning how to ask Google appropriately and using good syntax there, or even phrasing questions.
Or if you're a SQL administrator, you select this information from this table where conditions equal this.
Or just a human talking to another human. Like
we
have to teach our help desk guys that at a very basic level. You have to learn how to ask good questions to get good data. And if you're asking bad questions, you're going to get bad answers and you're going to go to a bad place. Like, it's no different. The machine is just a lot faster.
Absolutely. And the fact that it's encroaching into our industry at such a rapid pace, I think it's very important for us as cybersecurity professionals to be able to differentiate between the fluff and what is actually going to benefit the industry.
For sure. And I think that's where it's getting, you have to kind of get past the marketing material and really get into the weeds with some of these tools, because every demo is going to be the best scenario possible.
Well, let's be honest. There was an old joke a long time ago, and it was originally about a certain, I don't want to get into trouble here. So let's just say it was the CEO of a very large corporation that ran the operating system space for most of the time that computers have been around. But we're not going to say who it is. And the joke went, this person passed away and went up to heaven, and they were like, well, you've done just as much bad as you've done good in life, so you have a choice. You can either stay here or you can go down there. But we're going to let you see what it looks like first. So he looks around up in the clouds, and it's people playing harps and things. And then he goes down, and there's parties everywhere, and there's drinking, and there's loud music. And he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to stay here. And they come back to check on him a few months later, and he's chained to a wall, and he's all messed up and beat up. And they're like, what happened? He goes, oh, that was the demo.
No, that's legitimate, right? It's
nobody's going to show you, what doesn't work in a demo, and that, I think, especially when it comes to the LLMs and just how much they've flooded into our lives and at such a pace, it's hard for us to be able to separate that.
No, it did. And I think, as technologists, we're sort of used to that high speed. But even if you think back to other trends like the cloud, I think we had like 10 years where we were just talking about the cloud, and really it got accelerated by the mass exodus and work from home and all that during the pandemic and whatnot. But AI just came out of nowhere, and so much money got thrown behind it from all these big companies, and it went from, hey, a couple people learned about this thing, to ChatGPT opening its doors, and the world has not stopped.
No, and I think part of the reason of that is the simple fact that anybody can use it. When it came to any of the major technological advancements in the past, we'll say cloud, containerization, virtualization, the people that were doing these types of activities were already in the space. Now you can take someone who has absolutely no technical knowledge whatsoever, give them a prompt, and everybody's now, the next, hacker, the next developer. One of the things I read the other day in an article was telling a young college student to learn to code is actually worse advice than telling them to get a face tattoo.
Believe it at this point. Yeah, you just don't need it.
Vibe coding and everything else. So with that being said, we are here at Hack RedCon. So what do you think of the conference so far?
It's great. I love it. I've been coming for the last few years. It's always good content. I like that it's in Louisville. We don't really have a lot of big security conferences here. So anytime we can get, a bunch of security professionals in one place together and really build the community in the area, I'm pretty stoked. I don't know, security's like,
we're
a
a unique we are a unique group of people. We really are. Like, I'm not from here. I live in Texas. But cybersecurity people, we all seem to be at the exact same places, and it's always at either conferences, lectures, and things like that. So I agree with you. Since you are from this area, just to throw this out there, do you know if there's a B-Sides chapter or a DEF CON chapter here in this area?
There isn't. For B-Sides, for sure, I've looked. I think the closest is down in Nashville, and there's one up in Columbus. And we've been looking at that. But I mean, I don't know. I think cybersecurity is unique also because, there's a lot of conferences, and I'm a provider, obviously, so there's other providers here, and you can look at it from hey, they're competitors, maybe be careful space, but we don't run into that on the cybersecurity side. Everybody's here to just get better, and everybody just sort of puts away the business cards, and we're not really worried about that like at some of the other shows. It's just hey, if every business is more secure, then we're all more secure, and that's good. Like any breach is a bad breach in the world, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's just a pivot point for bad guys. So I don't know. I dig that most about a lot of these shows is no one shows up here worried that, hey, the guy we're going to be competing against next week is here or any of that. It's just show up and hang out and learn some cool stuff and see what everybody's up to.
I was the technical evangelist for CyberArk software for 11 years. And in that 11 years, I've made some of the most amazing connections with other providers and vendors. So, well, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. Is there anything, why don't you tell everybody about, where they can find out more information about your company?
Sure. Mirazon.com, Mirazon. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting word, but it's Mirazon.com. Check us out. We're right in downtown Louisville. You can come visit us or hit me up on LinkedIn, and you can find me there, Jordan Silva.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jordan. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll be doing a lot more of these over the next couple of days, so make sure to keep tuned. There's going to be a lot more interviews coming out. Great information, great guests. Till next time, I'm Len.
Take it easy, everybody.